This funk performer, composer, and producer embodied artistic and sexual independence. Her small body of work, which was uncompromising, unfiltered, and ahead of its time, consequently made little commercial impact but gradually found a wider audience. She was so unbothered by the mainstream acceptance, most of her work remained unreleased until decades later. She became an enduring influence heard in the output of artists ranging from Millie Jackson to Prince, from R&B balladeers to hardcore rappers. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Betty Davis. Now, if you guys love my videos and love supporting me, then I suggest you become a member of the channel where I will be releasing exclusive videos just for you all. Be sure to get that family tier so you won't miss out on these exclusive perks. Now, before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Born on July 26, 1944 in Durham, North Carolina, but she grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She became interested in music when she was around 10 years old. Her grandmother exposed her to several blues performers. At the age of 12, she composed of her first song. Davis attended and graduated from Homestead High School. She left Homestead at the age of 16 for New York City, where she attended the Fashion Institute of Technology while living with her aunt. She absorbed Greenwich Village culture and folk music in the early 60s. She became acquainted with regulars at the Cellar. This was a trendy uptown bar where young and fashionable people came. From models, design students, performers, and vocalists of many races made up the diverse and artistic group. At the Cellar, she played records and she connected with her customers. She was a friend and early inspiration to fashion designer Stephen Burrows, who also attended FIT at the same time. She also worked as a model, having spreads in magazines such as 17, Ebony, and Glamour. In New York, she encountered several musicians such as Jimi Hendrix and Sly Stone. Her connection with soul singer Lou Courtney, who is said to have produced her debut single, The Cellar. Although this record's existence has been called into question, it's what led her to signing a contract with Don Costa, who wrote arrangements for Frank Sinatra. As Betty Mabry, she recorded Get Ready for Betty, that was back with I'm Gonna Get My Baby Back in 1964. Around the same time, she recorded a single, I'll Be There, with Roy Arlington under the joint name Roy and Betty. Her first professional gig came after she wrote Uptown to Harlem for the Chamber Brothers. Their 1967 album was such a major success, but at that time, Betty was focused on her modeling career. She was very successful as a model, but she was bored by the work, quoting, "I didn't like modeling because you didn't need brains to do it. It's only going to last you as long as you look good." In 1968, while in a relationship with Hugh Masekela, if I mispronounce, I apologize, she recorded several singles for Columbia Records, with Hugh arranging them. Two of them that was published as singles was Live, Love, and Learn. Followed by It's My Life.
It's my life and I'm gonna do what I wanna do in love.
Her connection with Miles Davis began shortly after her separation with Masekela. She appeared on the cover of Miles Davis' 1968 album. Now, this album included his tribute song to her. Betty introduced Miles Davis to psychedelic rock and the flamboyant clothing styles of that era. Betty returned to Columbia's 52nd Street Studios in the spring of 1969 to record a number of demos, which included Miles and Tio Macero, who was producers. Miles tried to utilize these demo tracks to obtain an album deal for Betty, but neither Columbia or Atlantic was interested. Therefore, all of these songs was preserved until 2016. Betty relocated to London to continue her modeling career when her marriage to Miles Davis ended, which was most likely around 1971. She created music in the UK and returned to the United States approximately a year later to record songs with Santana. Instead, she recorded songs with a group of West Coast funk musicians that included Larry Graham, Greg Enrico, the Pointer Sisters, and the Tower of Power. Davis composed and orchestrated all of her tunes. In 1973, she published her debut self-entitled album. She followed up with 2 additional studio albums, They Say I'm Different, and her big label debut on Island Records, Nasty Gal. None of the 3 albums was commercial success, although she did have 2 modest singles that peaked on the R&B charts with If I'm in Luck, I Might Get Picked Up, which reached number 66.
Oh man! I want you dancing, mama, doing it. Get down.
And Shut Off the Light, which reached number 97.
Just shut off the light now. Just shut off the light.
Davis remained a cult icon as a singer thanks to in part of her openly sexual songs and her provocative performing matter at the time. She was very successful in Europe, but in the United States, she was forbidden from appearing on TV shows due to her sexual aggressive stage image. Some of her events was boycotted, and her songs was not broadcast on radio, owning pressures from religious organizations and the NAACP. Carlos Santana described Betty as an indomitable spirit. She was unconventional and appealing in terms of music, psychologically, and physical appearance. Davis finished another album for Island Records in 1976, but it remained unreleased for over 30 years before the company finally decided to drop it. She spent a year in Japan spending time with the Silent Monks. Davis' father passed away in 1980, which prompted her return to the US to live with her mother in Homestead, Pennsylvania. Davis struggled to overcome the passing of her father, which led to some mental issues. She acknowledged that she suffered a setback at the time and stayed in Homestead and accepted the end of her career and lived a quiet life. The tracks from her final recording section in 1979 was released on 2 bootleg albums titled Crashing from Passion that was released in 1995 and Hanging Out in Hollywood that was released in 1996. A greatest hits album was released titled Anti-Love, the best of Betty Davis, that was released in 1995. An independent documentary directed by Phil Cox titled Betty, They Say I'm Different was released in 2017, which renewed interest in her life and music career. When Cox tracked down Davis, he found her living in the basement of a house with no internet, cell phone, or car. He said this wasn't a woman with riches or luxury. She was living with the bare essentials. Davis released A Little Bit Tonight in 2019 with her first song in over 40 years that was performed and sung by Danielle Aguigo, an associated producer on Betty, They Say I'm Different.
Little bit hot tonight. Better turn up the fan.
The live action animated TV series Mike Judge Presents Tales from the Tour Bus concluded its 2018 season with an episode focused on Davis' controversial career. Davis' music has been featured in several TV shows including Orange is the New Black, Girl Boss, Mix-ish, High Fidelity, and Pistol. Davis sadly passed away from cancer at her home on February 9th, 2022 at the age of 77. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song by Betty Davis?